Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, etc. You've made me so happy on this Christmas Eve, the year of our Lord 2016, because you asked for my help. That's awesome. So not only did I put on my Cubs shirt, because, this is also the year of the Cubs, but I put on my holiday sweater and music in the background, and I'm going to record for you these recipes. But of course, I'm not going to just record the recipes. I'm going to share with you some things about you. Oh, remember this book that you did freshman year? It was called From the Wind Up by J.T. You talk about how, sweets are your favorite thing. And it also says my favorite sweet has to be the peanut butter blossoms. There's nothing that could compare. So let me start by offering you the recipe for peanut butter blossoms. This was originated, by the way, by Frida Smith of Gibsonburg, Ohio in 1957. It's been around that long. Okay, little history lesson. That's okay. So 1 3/4 cups all-purpose flour, half a cup of sugar, half a cup of firmly packed brown sugar, 1 teaspoon baking soda, a half a teaspoon salt, a half a cup of Crisco, the actual Crisco shortening in the can. You really got to use it. They don't turn out if you can't find it. Half a cup of peanut butter, smooth peanut butter, 2 tablespoons of milk, regular kind of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 egg, and 48 milk chocolate kisses that are unwrapped. So what you're going to do is you're going to heat the oven to 375 degrees, and you are going to basically combine everything in the same bowl. You're going to mix the flour, the half a cup of sugar, the half a cup of brown sugar, the 1 teaspoon of baking soda, the half a teaspoon of salt, the 1/2 cup of Crisco, the 1/2 cup of smooth peanut butter. It has to be smooth. The 2 tablespoons of milk, the 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and the 1 egg. You toss that all in the same bowl, all at one time, and then you blend it. So you're going to mix at a low speed until until stiff dough forms. So the dough kind of gets a little stiff. Then you're going to shape the dough into 1-inch balls, and they actually have to be like 1-inch diameter. Actual balls. Don't make them too big, because if they're too big, you're not going to have enough. And here's my hint for you guys, and I don't tell everybody this, but this recipe is going to make 48 cookies. And so what I used to do is I used to measure out, like I used to make 48 balls first before I even put them on a cookie tray. I'd make the 48 balls and made sure they were all about the same size. And if I made 48 balls that were all about the same size, they were the right size. You didn't have to worry about size. But if you make them too big and you only get like 38 balls, you got to take a little bit from each one and then make 48 balls. Okay? And then once you get those 48 balls, you roll them in sugar. So you put some extra sugar in like a little bowl, and then you toss a couple of them in there and just kind of toss them around so that they're coated in sugar. And then you're going to put them 2 inches apart on an ungreased cookie sheet. You're going to bake those cookies at 375 for 10 to 12 minutes or until golden brown. Now immediately once you take them out of the oven, you're going to take one Hershey's Kiss, and you're going to press it down into the cookie. And so the edges are going to crack a little bit. That's okay. That's what you kind of want. That's what makes them look pretty. But don't push the cookie all the way down, or the kiss all the way down to the cookie sheet. Like push it just enough until it about reaches the bottom of the cookie. And then you remove those cookies from the cookie sheet. I don't remember if I removed them right away or if I let them sit for a few minutes, but I'm pretty sure that once I put that kiss in there, I removed them from the cookie sheet. And you have to have those cookie trays to put them on, the open racks so that they cool off completely from both sides. Okay, so that is the Hershey's Kisses that you knew and loved when you wanted to be a chef, and which you had made before by yourself ever since you were a little boy. Look how adorable you are. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. You even made other cookies. This was one time you were making cookies with your dad, and you got a little dirty, but then you guys made cookies that said "I love mom." Oh my gosh, I have that on my refrigerator still. Okay, so now let's go on to the next one. And the next one was the Earl Schweddy cookies. So I don't know if you still call them Earl Schweddy balls because you know what that means, and but when you were young, there was an SNL skit, and I never had a name for these cookies, but they were balls with chocolate on them. So at one point in time, I had heard that skit. So I was like, oh, these are Earl Schweddy balls. And you called them that from the time you were little. And it was so cute. When you texted me, you asked me for this recipe, and you called them the Earl Schweddy balls. So anyhow, they're really called bullseyes. They're chocolate and Rice Krispie and peanut butter, crunchy peanut butter covered with chocolate. And in Ohio, they're kind of from Ohio. Usually they leave a little bit of the peanut butter showing through the chocolate, but we never did that. So the balls. The recipe for that is half a cup of butter or margarine, and I usually used margarine. I don't think I used butter for any of these recipes at all. 2 cups of chunky peanut butter. So this one requires chunky peanut butter. 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 1 pound of powdered sugar, and 3 cups of Rice Krispies. Okay, so the directions are that you're going to melt the margarine, and while the margarine's hot, stir in the peanut butter so it'll melt the peanut butter a little bit. Mix well and add the vanilla, the powdered sugar, and the Rice Krispies. Work in with hands until it will form balls. This recipe claims it makes 100 balls. So they must be really, really teeny tiny ones. But I don't think I ever made 100. So if you make them probably a little bit bigger than a nickel, a little bit smaller than a quarter. And you'll probably get about 4 dozen or so. But then for these, you're not going to cook them at all. So once you've done that, once you've made the balls, then what you're going to do is I usually put them kind of in the refrigerator. I put wax paper on the cookie sheet. Then I put them on wax paper, and I think I put them in the fridge for a little bit just so that they set a little bit. And then while they were in the fridge, I melted the chocolate. So you would take 1 package of chocolate chips, but my tip to you guys again is that I usually only melted half the chocolate, and then I tossed like half the bag, and then I tossed like a little, maybe a small teaspoon of Crisco in there, and it made the chocolate easier to use. And I melted the chocolate in a really, really small pan and a really, really low heat so it doesn't burn. And once it was melted, then what I would do is I took those cookies out of the fridge, and they were a little bit cold, and I tossed them in the little pan. Usually the chocolate was in a small little pan, and I would toss them in there 2 or 3 at a time, and I'd take a little spoon and just kind of like dip them, move them around a little bit, cover them with chocolate, and then I'd take 2 spoons and pull them out, kind of let them drip a little bit, and then stick them back on the wax paper. And the reason I only melted half the chocolate is so that the chocolate didn't seize up in the middle of like doing the covering. And so what I did was I would, when I was kind of running out of chocolate, then I just put it on the pan again, add the second half of chocolate, add a little bit of Crisco, and then start covering the cookies. All right, so now it's time to see a couple more pictures that I pulled out of the memory. Remember that? I think there's a book that says don't give a moose a cookie, but don't give this guy a cookie either. What is it, a buffalo? Remember that when we did those things? And of course, you were always a hockey fan. That was in 2002. And this is one of my favorite pictures of you. That was you, I'm pretty sure it was preschool. And I did not have my Christmas hat to do this video because it's in my classroom that I left behind. And there's another picture of you, memories of holidays gone by when we had so much fun, and it was awesome. All right, I'm going to leave you with one more cookie recipe, and I don't know if you want my nut cup recipe. But I'll do that real quick too. But the oatmeal cookies I thought that you liked too. And those are pretty easy to make. So you take half a cup of sugar, a pinch of salt, a quarter teaspoon of vanilla, half a pound of margarine. This was margarine again, it wasn't butter. 1 cup of flour, 1.5 cups of quick oatmeal. You got to get the oatmeal that says quick on it. And then 1/4 cup of nuts, which were usually walnuts, and you had to chop them up. So you cream the margarine and sugar together and add the salt and the vanilla. Once you have the cream the margarine, the sugar, the salt, and the vanilla, once it's really creamy, add the flour and the oatmeal together at the same time and then blend it by hand. You form these into balls smaller than a walnut, which is about, the size, maybe a little bit bigger than the diameter of a nickel. These you place on an ungreased cookie sheet, and then what you do is on the balls you take a fork and you push the fork down so it makes 4 little lines, and then you lift the fork up and push it the other direction so you get like a crisscross shape on top of the cookie. And once you've pushed them down with the fork, you're going to bake them at 350 for about 12 minutes, but don't overcook these because you want them to be soft and mushy. And when they get out, not soft and mushy, but, not crunchy. So then as soon as they come out of the oven, you're going to put them on the rack really quick again. And once they're cooled off, then you're going to sprinkle them with powdered sugar. All right, good luck in making your cookies, and thank you for giving me this holiday wish, which was to be helpful to you. Bye-bye.